And until somebody runs 0.01,
Yeah.
there's always something you can do better, you know? And I love trying to find those little things. Pushing the bounds of what's possible has always just fascinated me.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alex York, and I'm here with Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So you've had an insane career as an Olympian, as a professional runner, as an author, so many other things. You are currently in a bit of an off-season from track, at least.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been spending your days lately?
I've been resting. I've been eating, just enjoying, honestly, standing still, which is really rare for us. And it's the time where you just kind of get to let your body reset from all of the hard training.
Totally. What's a day in the life like when you are in like an intense training period versus now that you can like have a bit of a moment to yourself?
Yeah. I mean, training, normally takes place early in the morning. So I'm waking up, eating breakfast, going to train on the track for about 2 hours or so, and then get a little bit of a break for lunch and then go into the weight room. After that, you get a little bit of a break before recovery, massage, ice bath, whatever other kind of therapy you need. And then you eat dinner, go to sleep, and repeat the whole cycle. So this is very different, just getting to wake up whenever, eat whatever. If I want to go for a walk, that's about as much exercise as I get. So it really just is taking a break from that routine and, kind of letting my whole nervous system calm down.
Yeah, every part of our like mind, body, soul, I feel like needs those moments of like rest and recovery, which I'm sure is difficult to like come to terms with when you are on such a fast-paced like schedule and like training regimen. Is there anything like mentally that you either remind yourself of or like any tactics that you use to really allow your, like you said, nervous system to truly take advantage of those restful times?
My coach always says rest is not a bad word. And I think as just like a competitor and an athlete, you're always trying to find more to do. And it's very hard to turn that switch off when the season's done. But I think I've learned to appreciate that you actually also can't compete your best if you don't know how to rest. And so it really just is learning how to turn your phone off, learning how to sit still, read a book, take a nap, do the things that I always say in season, like, oh, I wish I could do this, but like actually forcing myself to do it.
Any favorite books you've read recently?
Oh, good question. I'm reading 1984 right now. I'm still working my way through. Very fascinating concept. So that's one that's on my docket.
Okay, cool. So fiction.
Yeah.
Love it. I feel like I need like a little bit of the fiction like in my life. I do read a lot of like nonfiction books, but I feel like I need a little bit of fiction to be like, I truly need to remove myself from like the world that we're living in right now and just like allow my brain to detach from what's going on. I feel like that's like my number one mental health hack is like read fiction books, everybody. I want to talk about your book that you wrote in 2024. This kind of story of yours shares everything from like finding yourself, your faith, your career, the ups and downs of like all you've gone through. A big topic of it is identity and like finding out how you identify, which I think can be both like very easy and very difficult when you are exceptional at something to both like identify as that because it's what you're known for and what you do all the time, but not maybe feeling like too tied to it or like it's kind of hard to escape it at some points. How did that conversation of identity come about in your mind? Like, when did you first identify as a runner or an athlete? How has that kind of taken shape over time?
Yeah, I think from a very early age, I just saw how being successful on the track brought validation. And I think for someone who was really searching for who she was, that was one place that I felt accepted. And so I really did start to attach myself and my identity to running because that's where I felt the most loved. And it became very unhealthy. At the end of the day, what you do can't always satisfy you in your heart and in your soul. And so especially in a sport where you're not going to win every race, not every day is going to be the best, you're not always going to break every single record, my foundation of that being my identity was always shifting and changing. And so that was a very unsettling place to live. And it wasn't until COVID that I really kind of came to the end of myself and was like, who am I? Where am I trying to go? What is the point of my life? And that's where my faith really just came into the picture. And God was so kind to reveal that to me. And that's what the book is about, just how he set me free from being tied to honestly, at the root of my identity issues was fear of not being enough. And it completely shifted and changed my perspective on my career, my life, who I was, where I'm going. And now I live a life that honors and glorifies Him.
How has faith and like finding your footing in faith or just like your value system in this world impacted your career, not just like on the track, but in terms of the partnerships that you make and the people that you surround yourself with? What has that journey looked like?
It's been interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm very firm on what I believe. Obviously, I try to carry that with grace and, not be belligerent about it. But at the same time, I do stand firm on what I believe is true. And there's at times partners that maybe don't want to align with that, and that's okay. And I think I've learned to be content with those who support me. I'm grateful for them. I'm going to continue to walk this path and just stay true to what I believe. And at times, that's very countercultural, I think. It's not always the norm. But I've also been content with knowing that certain opportunities are going to be, they're going to pass me by because of that. And I think I've had to be content with knowing that what's for me is not going to pass me by.
Have there been any specific instances where you feel like your value system has come at odds with like an opportunity being presented or, any of these experiences that you've gone through, and how have you kind of kept moving through that?
Yeah, there's definitely been things that have come up where I just have to honestly assess, like, would this kind of represent what it is I stand for, or would it be at odds? Would people look at this and be confused by what this represents versus what I stand for? And there's been times where we had to say no and walk away. And I think, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, I would have probably taken every opportunity out there.
And are those in terms of like brand deals or partnerships, endorsements? What does that mean?
Yeah, brand deals, partnerships, even just being in certain rooms with certain people. And there's a lot that me and my husband have to discern and say, maybe that's not the wisest for us. And just be content with our decisions that we make as a married couple and standing firm in that.
You mentioned too, in kind of finding like this version of yourself that it doesn't really matter if you win or lose or break records or not, but you've done a lot of winning and you've done a lot of breaking records. I want to back up, like prior to you having set these, and achieve these like very, highly sought after goals for yourself. What was like that version of Sydney on the track? How would you describe like how you showed up to a meet or a competition in those early days versus now?
I was a mess. I was a mess, honestly. Didn't sleep the night before, didn't eat enough, was constantly paranoid, just what was going to happen, because there's just so much you can't control. And I think for that to be my identity, I was trying to control as much as possible because I did not want to lose. I thought people would not love me anymore. They would leave me. I wouldn't have friends. I wouldn't get the validation I wanted on social media, all these kinds of things. And so it was miserable, honestly. And I think now I can control my nerves a lot better. I understand that I'm nervous because I care about the result, but ultimately it's not a crippling anxiety like it once was. And so I've learned to be able to kind of channel that into energy to use because I'm excited instead of kind of letting it defeat me.
You went through your first Olympic trials at 16 years old, went to your first Olympics at 17. That's an insanely young age to be put on a global stage and then have to, like you said, come into it with so much like anxiety or nervous energy and compete. How would you like advise yourself then, if you knew now how to move forward in those instances? Like what were those, especially when it came to the Olympics, like what is a piece of advice that you would give your 16-year-old self before that experience?
Wonderful question. I would have said learn as much as you can. Nobody's anticipating or expecting you to win. Just soak up as much as you can. I think I was even just so afraid of being there that I stayed in my room. I didn't go explore. I didn't talk to people. I wish I would have just been like, listen, regardless of what happens, I'm going to soak up as much as I can and really get this experience under my belt so that when I come back, I know what I'm trying to do. Because I think, I was so like, why am I here? That it kind of is a blur, you know?
I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like, regardless of what industry or career you're in, you get an opportunity. And you look back and you're like, I don't even remember being there because it was such a like anxiety-provoking experience for me. What is something that you feel like you learned in those first games that you took with you in the games following?
good question. I think I learned just how serious the professional track and field world is. I remember on that first race, I was like, yeah, it's the first round, like everyone's kind of just going to work their way through. And I was like, oh no, these women came to run. This is their livelihood. This is what they've trained for their whole lives. And it just really showed me what it was like to be a professional, just how serious it is. And there was so much I had to learn. I'm sure they were all at the food court, but I was eating McDonald's because it was in the village, stuff like that. And so it was my first real exposure to the professional world. And there was a lot I still had to learn.
Was that a turning point for you, or like a pivot in your mind of like, I am now a professional athlete? Or was there another moment that you feel like really flipped the switch in your mind of like, I am one of these professional women that I feel I'm surrounded by?
Yeah, well, Rio was my first Olympics, but then I had to finish my senior year of high school, so I went back. And then I did 1 year at the University of Kentucky. And then after that, I turned pro. So I think 2019 was my first year as a professional really in that world. And that was where I was like, okay, like I'm with the people who do this, and I need to figure out how I'm going to navigate my career and set myself up to be successful.
Can I ask, going back to your senior year, what was that experience like? Was it people like asking you for photos in the hallway, or like how did you relate then to the other people that were in your class?
It was, it's not something anyone can prepare you for. It's just, part of it is you're trying to go back and be normal, but life just isn't normal. I think even not just like other students, but like teachers, faculty, and stuff like that. And so you, especially with someone who has like struggling with identity, your whole identity now becomes this experience you've had. And at 17 years old, that's not really a healthy place to be. You now have Instagram followers and professional athletes in your DMs, and you're trying to finish your senior year, and you're trying to figure out friend groups. It was a lot. And I probably didn't handle it the best, to be honest. I probably was a little cocky. I probably was a little big-headed, which if I could go back, I'd change it for sure. But it's just a weird space that I wasn't anticipating being in at 17.
Yeah, how could anybody anticipate being in that, experience? Going then into your first year of college, what was that like, kind of leveling up from, a high school athlete having this Olympic experience and then coming to a collegiate team? And why was it only 1 year for you?
Yeah, I definitely wanted to get the college experience. I could have gone pro right out of high school, but my mom especially was like, I just want you to get that, go to college, even if it's for 1 year, be on that team, compete at NCAAs, which I'm really grateful for. I met some amazing friends there that I'm still friends with today. And, track is a very individual sport. So having one more opportunity to really be on a team was really fun. And that was that next step from high school up to, there were pros training at the University of Kentucky. So even getting to watch them from a distance, see how they train, see how their professional lives was just another taste of what I was going to be stepping into. So it was a lot of observation.
Moving then into the pro league, what were some things that surprised you? You mentioned there, and also at the, your first Olympics, kind of getting a taste for like the mentality and the training and all these things. But were there any like major surprises once you stepped into those shoes?
It's so interesting how track and field, especially, you have to figure it out for yourself. It's a lot of it is you have to figure out where you're going to train, who you're going to train with, where you're going to recover, where you're going to practice, where you're going to live. It's not like, there's a league per se where all of these things are kind of provided for you. It's very, very individual. And that was a big shock to me. So I picked up and moved to Los Angeles. I had to find my coach, my weight coach, my trainer, therapists, everything was on me. And there's a lot of athletes who, kind of struggle trying to put all those things together. I also think track and field doesn't have a professional league right now. It's very much you can have amateurs running against the professionals. You can have collegiates running against the professionals. And so the waters are very murky at the moment, and I'm hoping that's something over the next few years that we can kind of sort and figure out.
I definitely want to get into like what that future looks like and what your vision for it is, what your hopes for it are. But in terms of finding those people that you surround yourself with, your coach, your trainers, all those sorts of things, I talk with a lot of founders in my job, and one like big conversation we have is finding the right co-founder or like making that first hire.
Yeah.
What did you look for in people that you ultimately wanted to work with and like bring into uplifting you and your career? Because that's so critical to have that like trust and the good relationship. What was it like for you to find those correct people for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, number one, is going to be, are they going to support me even on my worst day? And then after that, I need someone who's going to push and challenge me when I don't want to challenge myself. Because I think the mental hurdle sometimes of professional sports is a big one. And you need the right coach that's going to be able in those moments to talk you through that. And so whenever I'm looking for people to work with, I want to work with people who want to be the best at what they do and who are going to push me to be the best at what I do. Chemistry's huge, making sure we can all work together. And then, just feeling like I can really trust them even at my hardest moments is kind of that criteria.
How do you identify that, especially like in the first couple times meeting them? Like, is it a trial period you'll go through with them, or how do you build that and feel confident in like, yes, these are checking off the boxes that I want them to?
Yeah, I mean, there's been seasons where you may work with someone for a season or two, whether it be a therapist, a coach, a trainer, and it just doesn't work out. But I think the people that have kind of stuck through and are kind of like glue right now, it's just been tested through time. And going through trials together and really growing that bond as we've been through highs and lows. And I think I have that core group of people that, I'm halfway, maybe more through my career. I just want to finish with them because we've had some wonderful times.
Yeah, that's really special to find that.
Yeah.
Moving on from like these first couple, moments or years of yours as a professional to now having broken like record after record. I think you've broken the 400-meter hurdles record like 6 times, the world record, which is crazy. How, once you've done that once, do you continue to do it again and again? Like, what pushes you to keep going when you're kind of like the best at what you do?
Just the pursuit of excellence. I think, I love the idea of improving. And until somebody runs 0.01, there's always something you can do better, And I love trying to find those little things. Pushing the bounds of what's possible has always just fascinated me. I love seeing people in their prime of whatever their profession is pursuing excellence. And so for me, there's always something I can do better, whether it be a hurdle takeoff, whether it be my start, whether it be my finish, my strength, my speed. And I love finding those milliseconds and adding them up.
Where do you think the threshold is for like how fast people can get? Because to your point, like someone can't be 0 seconds fast to get from one point to another.
Yeah.
Do you think about that? Like, how are you and the track community in general thinking about like what the limit of a human body is?
So it's fascinating because it's not just the human body now. We've seen technology evolve as well, whether it be the surfaces of tracks are getting faster or the shoe technology is getting faster, the spikes. All these different things add up where you look, 40 years ago and they were still running so fast, but they didn't have all the advancements we have now. And so even as humans continue to get faster, I look at even the technological aspect of it, and who knows what the limit is? Who knows where we're going to be in 20, 30, 40 years from now? But I'm just hopeful that I can continue to push right now what the boundaries are, and I'm sure somebody's going to come and break those records and run even faster.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling to think like what else can contribute to someone getting faster and faster. Yeah. You mentioned there too, like gear being part of it. Let's talk about your brand partnerships, your endorsements. You've been with New Balance since 2018, and they won you in a bidding war, essentially.
Yeah.
What was it like to make that first long-term partnership agreement? What made New Balance the right partner when many other athletics companies were kind of wanting to bring you onto their team?
Yeah. I mean, the shoe company, for most track athletes, that is kind of your main endorsement. And so that was a big one. I mean, your feet are everything in this sport. And so I'd had a relationship with them since high school. They'd always treated my high school team very well. And, going through that process, I think at 18 years old, part of you is like looking at all the glitz and glam and money, and there's all these new factors coming into play. But when it really came down to who's going to support me every single day, who's going to have my back, whose shoes are the best quality for my feet, because I have feet issues, it was New Balance. And they've been like family ever since. I've never once looked back on that decision and thought anything different other than this is where I'm supposed to be.
What has that partnership looked like since then? Like, I know you had a collection that came out with them. You know, just this week you held up the finishing line at the New York City Marathon. Yeah. What other opportunities or, you know, both like from just a personal perspective, but also this like business and brand building perspective, do you feel like have really made a difference in like you as you're building your professional brand?
Yeah. The collection we got to do in 2024 was so fun. Just getting to put that together, show kind of my personal style. There's actually another one that we are working on that'll come out next year, which is really exciting. And they definitely want to invest in helping me have my voice in the brand, which I appreciate. I'm excited to kind of continue showing my style through capsule collections, even, you know, doing some content with other brand ambassadors that they have. They have Coco, they have Otani. You know, there's so many different just amazing athletes under their umbrella. And so they are very supportive in anything that I want to pursue and do in the future, whether that be kids camps or charity work or whatever it is, really building who Sydney is and supporting that and backing that. So we actually just had a meeting about that, and I'm excited to kind of see what the future holds there.
And you mentioned too that this is like for the shoes on your feet, but there are so many other like products and things in your life and bits of your life that you're sharing both like online through these different campaigns and whatnot. What are some other brand partnerships that you feel like have really spoken to like who you are and continuing to build this personal brand of yours, you know, over whether that's like the skincare brands or fashion? How else have you kind of brought more and more people and companies into this, you know, Sydney brand fold?
Yeah, I mean, Neutrogena has been amazing for the past year, 2 years. Just even stepping them into the sports world. I mean, it's so huge. We train outside every single day. So being able to have a brand partnership that has sunscreen, great sunscreen, you know, when I'm out there 2-3 hours a day has been really cool. Even Tag Heuer, the watch brand, I now have what I call the world record watch. I've worn it for all of them, and they just—
That's like an iconic moment for them as well.
It's amazing. It's amazing because they're all about time, you know, and precision and excellence and quality. And so we align on so many different things there that it's just really special to have brands that really speak to my personality as well, supporting me. And then, of course, Gatorade. Love them since I was a kid, fueling athletes since who knows how long. And it's just really amazing to see how sports has allotted me all of these amazing friendships and partnerships.
Two things that I think are interesting that you mentioned there are, one, like for New Balance, for instance, like bringing different athletes from different sports together. And then also for someone like Neutrogena, bringing a non-athletic brand into the like athletic industry. So much has changed within sports and the sports industry and sports marketing over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
How have you seen it from your perspective, just in terms of how these brands are becoming more innovative or more creative ways of like sharing who they and you as athletes are?
Yeah, it's been really cool to see. I think social media plays a huge part in that for sure. But I really think they want to tell stories. And I think people really resonate with authenticity. And so whether it's a brand like a beauty brand or a fashion brand or a sports brand, they want to hear stories. And I think all of those brands really want to elevate you to a place where you can connect with the consumer, because if you can't see yourself in the person representing the product, it's not likely that you're going to want to invest in it. And so authenticity, I think, is a huge part of that. I want to always be aligned with brands that are going to let me truly be me and share that. And yeah, I think we're in an age where people can 100% show that through things like social media and their content, even if they maybe don't have the brand partnerships yet that they're looking for. From
the business side of things, and how are you thinking about what brand deals are worth it? From your perspective, is it, you know, long-term versus short-term partnerships or equity deals versus these like multi-year endorsement deals?
Yeah.
What is that thought process or conversation like from your end?
Yeah, it's definitely always quality over quantity. And it is long-term partnerships. I want people that are really going to go the distance with me. Obviously, sometimes one-off deals are great, you know, whether it's just a 1 year or whatever it is. it just has to make sense. And I think that's the biggest criteria is, does it make sense for us? Does it fit in time-wise, schedule-wise? Because it is a very busy time, so you don't want to overload your plate. But yeah, at the end of the day, when it comes to the biggest brand deals, I'm looking for people who are really going to go the distance.
Another thing I want to speak about is your kind of transition or expansion to 400-meter flat.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to take on another event after having so much success in one area? What was that decision like?
It was a very weighted decision. We had pursued in 2023 going after the 400. Unfortunately, I got injured, so we weren't able to finish the season. But after Paris, it really came back, and I was like, I think we just need to try this one more time. There's something about stepping out of your comfort zone into the unknown that is both exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. And so for this year to be that challenge, there were times where I was like, are we making the right decision? Should we go back to the hurdles? You know, it was a very unsure thing, but it taught me so much about myself, so much about the sport, so much about the 400, which you would think is easier than the hurdles, but it's not. I promise it's not. It's so different. And I'm so grateful for sticking through that and seeing the fastest time we've seen in 40 years. So it just makes me excited for the future and knowing that, you know, there's just so much more there.
It is a big decision, though, to like decide to pivot either away from or just to bring more things into a career that you've had and you've built for yourself. And I think, again, like this goes for any industry, any type of career. What are some questions that you asked yourself that other people can ask themselves to understand like whether a pivot or a new challenge is right for them in that phase of their life?
Yeah, I think the first question I had to ask was, what would staying where I'm at truly gain me right now? And it's not that I can't come back to this, but I just don't know how much personal growth I'm going to see if I continue down this road. And I think I had to ask myself the question, like, what is keeping you from stepping out and doing something different? Is it fear, or is it something else? Is it the opportunity is not there? The opportunity was there. It was really just a mental decision to take the leap. And so I think you just have to ask yourself those questions of, you know, do I see growth on the other side of this? Do I see challenge but also opportunity on the other side of this? And if the answer is yes, and the opportunity to step into that is there, I say go for it.
What has it been like just from a training perspective, like that mental training perspective as well, to step into this new event? Has there been any like major changes to your regimen or like how you are preparing for these things? You said it's, you know, very different one event to the other. So what has that looked like on like a practical level?
Yeah, the 400 flat is just honestly a sprint. It's a long sprint. So, you know, not as much hurdle training per se, but a lot more speed, a lot more strength, a lot more endurance, and which are things that I don't always get to do as much. You know, I got to run the 100 this year, which was really, really fun. I hope to do more of that. And it just kind of, you have to be a well-rounded athlete, I think, to run the 400. It's not just a sprint. It's also having a great cadence, having the strength to finish. And so you really have to work all sides of it. And I think I got the chance to do that this year.
What is something about track and field that you feel like people don't understand or maybe like misunderstand or have misconceived like notions about? Because I think that it's obviously, you know, so many people participate in this, especially like growing up as a high school athlete, but it does not really get the same like global notoriety as other sporting events do. What do you feel like is a misconception that people have?
That we only compete every 4 years, which is just not true. We have a world championships on the years before and after every Olympics, and meets even that take place on those off years. And so we are always competing. We are always training hard. We have so many stars in our sport who just don't get the opportunities to shine just because we don't have that visibility right now, which I hope in the near future we can have the sport professionalized. I hope that we can have a wonderful lead up to LA 2028 and just get the recognition we deserve, because we compete just as hard as a lot of other sports and do amazing performances that just don't get what we deserve.
What do you think in your like mind or what is your vision for what this sport can be in the future? I know that there are like some smaller professional events popping up, but to your point earlier, like there is not a professional league yet. Where do you see this going in the future?
Yeah, I mean, this year, I know Grand Slam Track tried to pursue something a bit more professional, which I think the model of it really gave fans something exciting to look forward to. Obviously, there was issues on the back end there with the money side of things. And then, of course, you have other leagues like Athlos, which I think the marketing there was really great. But I think being able to have both of those things combined with both the structure and the marketing is something that's missing in track and field. And I hope that in the future, whatever that looks like, I mean, I don't have all the answers. I don't know who I need to talk to try to get this sorted out. But I mean, we have such talent, we have such stars, and there's so many amazing storylines that could be followed. And I think right now we're missing that infrastructure to really set it up well. And yeah.
What's required there then? More money, more people behind this mission? Like, what do you feel like can kind of crack that code?
Yeah, I think part of it's definitely the money to create, a sustainable model that can function for years to come. I think there are many great ideas of what that can look like for the infrastructure-wise part of it. But I think, a lot of it comes down to money. A lot of it comes down to sponsorships. A lot of it comes down to viewership. We need a TV deal. We need people to be able to see these events. I think that's a huge part of it, not just having to subscribe somewhere to watch, but can you turn on ESPN and see the track meet that's going on right now? Because when people know it's on, the Olympics, they love track and field. It's one of the biggest sports to watch. I just don't think they have the access to us right now.
A lot of women's sports in general has had like a major last couple of years. What has it looked like from your end? How do you feel like that's taking shape? You mentioned earlier too, like social media is playing a big part in like athletes getting noticed. What else do you feel like has come from this growth in women's sports across the board?
I think I've seen a huge just interest from the next generation, which I'm excited to continue because there is a decline in girls participating in sports even at young ages. And so whether you go on to be a professional or not, I just want you to be active. I want you to get out there, make friends, learn social skills, learn how to work together. And I'm just want to continue to be that influence. I think we've seen a lot of that, at least personally. I've had just a lot of young girls come up to me and say things like that after Paris and stuff. So, social media is great. I know there's always people watching. I just want to use that platform well, and I'm sure all the other athletes do also.
Going into the future, what do you think is the next phase of what track and field or women's sports will look like in terms of, all these things that you're mentioning, the attendance, the participation, like what does your ideal next phase look like within the next, let's say 1 to 5 years? Yeah,
I mean, with track and field specifically, I really hope LA 2028 is that moment. Bringing the Olympics back to the States, back to LA, is going to be huge. And I think if it's done well and it's done right and there is infrastructure to follow that, we can be back like we were in the 1980s with the Jackie Joyner-Kerseys and the Florence Griffith Joyners and all of the amazing athletes that came before us. I think there's going to be a lot of hype. There's going to be a lot of opportunity. So it's really just about capitalizing on that. And it's a big ramp up. So we're trying to make the most of it.
From the business side of things, as you have obviously grown in your athletic career, more and more of these business opportunities have come about as well. Same with a lot of these other female athletes that we're looking at today. What is one bit of business advice that you wish you knew when you started that you have learned over time?
Wonderful question. Our arc is short compared to a average job, and you have to be wise with your money while you have it. My earning potential in my career it's large, but it's a short span of time. And so just trying to make the most of that, not driving myself crazy, trying to, chase every single deal, but being smart with my money. Am I investing? Am I saving? Am I doing things that are going to, in the long run, make the most sense financially? Because you can't be a professional athlete forever, and you don't know what the future holds after this career. So just really trying to think about those things early on instead of in your last 1 to 2 years of your career, because we don't know what comes next.
Totally. That's a perfect segue into my last question for you. At Forbes, and especially at the Forbes 30 Under 30 team, we talk a lot about youth and how youth plays a part in your career and what you can and maybe are prevented from doing depending on your age. How do you feel like youth has played a role in your career so far?
Youth has been honestly a blessing, I would say, just because that means time is on my side. And I think making the most of the time I have means not being afraid to ask questions, not being afraid to not know the answer, and not being afraid to pivot if I need to, because that means, there's still opportunities that lie ahead before it's too late to make a change.
Or pivot just if you want to.
100%.
If you want to try something new.
Do it. Go for it.
Thank you so much, Sydney, for joining me today. It was great to hear all about your, incredible career so far and where you're headed in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.